Hey everyone, it's made by Tim. In today's video, I'm redrawing one of my favourite covers of Demon Slayer ever, Volume 15, featuring none other than the GOAT himself, Gyomei Himejima, the most stoic and underrated of the Hashura. While working on this piece, I'll also be ranking every major arc in the Demon Slayer manga, to the quiet beginnings to the final battle with Muzan. I'll break down what each arc is about, what it does well or not so well, and where it fits in my personal tier list. Think of it as a hybrid, part redraw, part manga review. Let's get into it. As always, I start by setting up my 20cm by 30cm grid. This is just to help with proportions. It's a great way to keep everything balanced, especially when the composition is so symmetrical, very detailed and surprisingly complex. I use a 2H pencil to lightly map out the major forms, bow, beads, prayer pose, and the background elements. Once I was happy with the structure, I switched to a 2B to define the shapes with a bit more confidence. Inking was done using a G pen and Deleta black ink. I slowed down here and really focused on the line weight. Thicker lines around the robe and face, thinner lines around the chains and the beads. And this time I had full access to the set of Arrtx markers. So I wasn't fighting with color limitations like last time. I could focus entirely on value, contrast, and harmony. Alright, let's get into ranking the Demon Slayer manga arcs. Unwavering Resolve arc. The story begins here. Tanjiro lives peacefully with his family until tragedy strikes. Demons attack, killing everyone but his sister Nezuko, who survives but is transformed. Tanjiro then sets out to join the Demon Slayer corps and find a way to turn her human again. This arc sets the tone. Quiet, emotional, atmospheric. We meet Urokodaki, see Tanjiro's early training, and learn about breathing styles. The pacing's a little slow in places, and the villains in this stretch aren't really memorable yet, but the heart is there. It's not a flashy start, but it lays the emotional groundwork beautifully. For that reason, I'm putting it in the B tier. Muggan Train arc. Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu board the Infinity Train to investigate strange disappearances. Joined by Rengoku, the Flame Hashura, what starts as a mysterious mission turns into a dream-fueled nightmare. Enmu, the lower-ranked demon, puts them to sleep, trapping each of them in their deepest desires. For Tanjiro, it's a heart-wrenching illusion of his family still alive. The emotional pain of choosing to leave that illusion is devastating. Then Akaza shows up. Rengoku's death is iconic, not just because of the fight, but because of how much character development Gotoge squeezes into him in such a short amount of time. It's powerful, tight, and emotional. A tier. Okay, we're going to pause for a second, and I want to get back into my process real quick. So now I'm up to inking. This stage was probably the most time consuming. Gyomei's beads and chain wrapped around his wrists are incredibly detailed. And I wanted to keep the symmetry intact without making the composition feel stiff. The G pen helped here, gave me control over the fine curves and weight variation. I also kept some areas open for a little white highlights later. The face was the trickiest part. His expression is both peaceful and intense, and if you miss the balance, he just looks bored and angry. I took my time and worked slowly. Alright, let's get back into the tier list. Now, in my opinion, this is where the series truly peaks. The Entertainment District arc. Tanjiro and the crew go undercover in Yoshiwara with Tengen Uzui, the Sound Hashura, to investigate demon activity. What unfolds is one of the most tightly paced and emotionally satisfying arcs in the entire manga. The fight against Daki and Gyutaro is brutal. The dual demon concept is fresh, and their dynamic as twisted siblings mirror Tanjiro and Nezuko's bond in a dark, emotional way. Every character has something to do, Zenitsu's stealth, Inosuke's instincts, and Tengen's raw charisma all shine. And the final sequences are both tragic and triumphant. The anime elevated it to god tier, but even in the manga, this arc hits every mark. S tier. Swordsmith Village arc. This arc picks up after recovery, with Tanjiro travelling to Swordsmith Village to get his blade repaired. Of course, it doesn't stay quiet for long. Upper rank demons, Gyoko and Han Tengu attack and chaos unfolds. We get some big power-ups like Mitsuri showing us strength and Moichiro unlocking the Demon Slayer mark with memories of his past. Genyu's backstory also adds layers to his character. But the pacing in the middle gets a little bit muddy. Han Tengu's clone stretching things out, and there are moments that feel like they're stalling for time. It's got some excellent panels and hype moments, but not enough emotional punch for me. B tier. Alright, we're going to pause for a bit, and I want to go back into my marker work. As with inking done, I move on to colour. Using the full set of Arrtx markers, I started with flat base layers, flesh tones, greys, reds. Gyomei's beads got special attention. I used layered pinks and reds to give them like a soft, reflective tone. The yellow panels in the background, I just layered down a base yellow and then worked back over the top with blacks and just a slightly darker tone to soften it out. I blended the shadows pretty carefully to maintain contrast, and I kept the highlights sharp but not overdone. I'm pretty happy with it. This is probably up there with one of my cleanest coloring jobs yet. Alright, let's get back into the manga. The Hashura Training arc. This is the calm before the storm. Each Hashura trains with a squad of demon slayers, including Tanjiro, in preparation for the final confrontation with Muzan. It's a nice chance to explore each Hashura's personality outside of the battle, especially Gyu, who finally starts to open up. There's humor, bonding, and character growth, but narratively it's more of a setup than payoff. It feels like an extended transition, the kind of arc you appreciate more in hindsight than while you're reading it. Still valuable, but in my opinion, the weakest of the bunch. C tier. The final battle arc. This is the grand finale, split into two parts. The Infinity Castle and the Sunrise Countdown. The Infinity Castle is pure chaos. Every Hashura is fighting for their life in a shifting arena of hallways and gravity-defying stages. We get heartbreaking final moments, incredible demon backstories, and high-stakes sacrifices. Kokoshibo's fight is brutal. Sanemi and Gyomei go all out. Akaza's end hits hard, and Doma's final scene with Shinobu is, frankly, genius. Then the Sunrise Countdown. Muzan's final stand. It's a desperate, drawn-out endurance test. Time becomes the enemy. The pacing is tight, the conclusion, while controversial, felt emotionally fitting for me. Everyone gave everything. For me, it goes in the A tier. With every arc ranked, I'd like to just get into my final touches with the artwork. So once the colors were in, I added the white highlights with a whiteout liquid and a brush. Reflections on the beads, light accents on the chain, edge highlights on his skin and the robes to separate him from the background. I also deepened some shadows with layering of subtle cross-hatching in the corners. By this stage, I was pretty happy. The piece started to feel finished. Everything locked into place, and I could finally see it next to Gotoge's original. So, that being said, here's the side-by-side. Gotoge's Volume 15 cover versus my redraw. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Let me know in the comments what you think. Gyomei isn't the flashiest character, but that's the point. His presence is grounded, powerful, and restrained, and I wanted the art to sort of reflect that same energy. So here's the final tier list. Drop your rankings in the comments. I'd love to see how yours compares. What arcs did you like the most? Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown and redraw, drop a like and subscribe. It seriously helps out my channel to grow, and I'd love to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I also stream drawing sessions every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So if you'd like to hang out, ask questions, or just chill while I work, tune in. Until next time, see ya.